Hi, good afternoon. Sarah Pacaro, rapid transformational therapist, and I'm on a little bit of a high right now because I just finished a RTT session with a client, and you guys, if you were looking for a breakthrough with limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, our focus was on why she felt undeserving and unworthy, and those are very powerful feelings when you have been in toxic and unhealthy relationships, but they show up and they impact every single area of your life, not just a relationship, but in business and who you are as a parent and all areas of your life, like how you take care of yourself, your health, like all the things. So, yes, these issues, feeling undeserving, unworthy of, can be broken very quickly and easily with rapid transformational therapy. So yeah, I'm on a bit of a high because I just love what I do and I love sharing content with you guys. And today's content that I'm going to be sharing is about codependents and narcissists. So many codependents are attracted to narcissists for many reasons. Why maybe you notice, like, is the narcissist a codependent too? So there are a lot of similarities and traits. It's kind of a fun topic and subject. You'll notice that you exhibit the same signs, and I think that leads to the question of why you may ask yourself, am I the narcissist? Because there are so many similarities. So can narcissists be codependents? If you think about it, they are constantly out to get this form of supply, and that is a dependence on something outside of themselves. So yes is the fun, simple answer, but we'll get into it even more. So narcissists exhibit codependent symptoms because those symptoms are shame, denial, control, dependency, which is like this underlying unconscious dependency, a dysfunctional communication, an inability to set boundaries, which leads to intimacy problems. So you'll notice you feel like the narcissist because a lot of those traits and commonalities are the same. So it's very interesting. So this dependency. So codependency, what it is a disorder of the lost self. So codependents have lost themselves. They've lost that connection. They've lost this innate feeling of connection to themselves. Instead, their thinking, their behaviors revolve around a person or a substance or a process. That's why codependent and narcissists seem very similar. You may think, am I the narcissist? Yeah, a lot of the traits are very much the same. If you have emotional empathy, or you've even asked yourself that question, the quick answer is you are not. But a lot of the traits are the same. So with that, your behavior revolving around another person, that's why that energetic magnetic pull, it feels so difficult to leave because you are dependent on something outside of yourself, just like the narcissist is dependent on you for supply, and the supply comes in many forms, or a substance. So a lot of them, people who have had substance abuse addictions, whether it's alcohol or drugs or another person, narcissists are different because they lack that connection. Well, I guess they're the same. A codependent and a narcissist both lack that connection with their ideal self, or their true self. So their inner deprivation and their lack of connection with themselves, it makes them look for things outside of themselves for validation, which is something similar with codependents and narcissists. So consequently, just like codependents, their self-image, their feeling, their thinking, their behavior is all to protect that really fragile ego and to protect that damaged self-esteem. That's why when you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, you feel like, I have no confidence, I don't believe in myself, I have no self-esteem, or it's very little. Maybe you were doing really good and then you got with a narcissist and then totally got depleted again. So ironically, despite having declared high self-regard and self-esteem, narcissists crave recognition from others. They have an insatiable need to be admired. To get their narcissistic supply, which is the codependent, this makes them dependent. So it very much makes them like the codependent because they are dependent on the recognition from others, just like an addict is addicted to their addiction. And it it filters in with this feeling of shame. Codependents have feelings of shame because they need others to get this, and narcissists have deeply rooted feelings of shame as well. So shame is at the core of codependency and addiction. So you may feel addicted to the narcissist, and you may see that they're addicted to other things, whether it's substances or people or sex or lying. They're addicted to a lot of things because of that sense of shame. So it stems from growing up in a dysfunctional family. Narcissist inflated self-opinion is commonly mistaken for self-love. I put posts about that before, and people are like, what's the one thing a narcissist loves the most? And a lot of people put themselves. Actually, that's quite untrue. They do not love themselves, but it's this inflated self-ego mistakenly makes you think that they love themselves. However, it's extremely exaggerated, and their arrogance merely suggests that they have this shame that's internalized, and that's also true among codependents. So some more similarities there. You'll notice that when you're a child, you develop different ways of coping with different feelings like anxiety, insecurity, shame, hostility, and when you grow up in a dysfunctional family, shame becomes internalized and gets resulted, despite most parents' good intentions, to allow you the space to do that. But most children do not grow up in a space where they feel safe. They don't learn to cope. They have faulty coping mechanisms and patterns. And one strategy is, in order to cope, is to accommodate and please other people, to seek their love, their attention, their affection, and their approval. Creator of narcissism and creator of codependency. So I hope you guys are seeing the similarities. The stereotypical codependents fall into the first category, however, and the narcissist is the second. That's the biggest difference. They seek power and control of their environment to get their needs met, and the pursuit of this prestige and superiority and power help them avoid their feelings of feeling inferior, vulnerable, needy, and helpless. That's where the emotional empathy or lack of comes in. That's the difference. Because we're both human. We're all human, so we all have the same basic needs. So these ideals are natural human needs. However, for codependents and narcissists, they become very compulsive. And additionally, the more people feel further from themselves, the more they depend on this. So that's why, as a part of healing, you have to reconnect to yourself to eliminate these feelings of self-shame and this false sense of security that depending on someone or something else provides momentarily and temporarily. So you'll notice another element is denial. Denial is at the core, one of the core symptoms of codependency. Narcissists constantly deny that they have a problem. Hey, codependents also deny. That's why they're generally in denial of their codependency. When I realized I was, whoa, it was such a tough pill to swallow. It was like a pill that was stuck in my throat forever. I didn't even realize I had put it in my mouth. And to swallow it, I was like, are you kidding me? But I was completely dependent on him for my feelings and my needs to be met, especially because I felt like I was financially dependent on him. I was also emotionally dependent on him, thus being a codependent. So similarly, narcissists deny their feelings, particularly those that express vulnerability. You may see that's why when you try to sit them down and talk to them and let's work this out and let's talk about how we feel, I want to make this work, it doesn't work because they deny these feelings that express vulnerability, because vulnerability to them is seen as a weakness, and that's why they use your vulnerabilities and weaknesses against you. They will not admit their feelings of inadequacy, even to themselves. That's the difference. For someone who recognizes this and is along that journey to healing, they recognize and admit. The first is, acceptance and admitting. I admit this is not working for me. I need to change, and the change has to come from with me. But narcissists are different because they don't accept their feelings of inadequacy, even to themselves. They will disown and often project onto others the feelings that they consider to be weak. such as longing or sadness or loneliness or powerlessness or guilt or fear or variations of all of these feelings. The anger that they have and they hold on to in a very sick way makes them feel very powerful. This rage, this arrogance, this envy, this contempt are all defenses to the underlying shame and guilt. Much like codependents deny their needs, especially emotional needs. That's the first thing that you should accept instead of deny. But codependents will deny their emotional needs, and they'll say, no, it's fine, it's okay, I'm good. And they'll oftentimes take care of others' emotional needs and neglect their own. So this comes from being neglected or ashamed growing up. Some codependents act very self-sufficient and very independent, and I don't need anybody, and they put other people's needs first. And other codependents are very demanding of people to satisfy their needs. And narcissists also deny emotional needs, and they won't admit that they're being needy or demanding. And you know it, you see it, you feel it, but they're not going to admit it because having needs makes them feel dependent and weak. And they project this and judge this neediness. So although narcissists don't usually put the needs of others first, some, you may notice, are people pleasers, and they can be very generous, especially those covert narcissists. Man, those are the sneaky ones. So in addition to securing the attachment of those that they depend on, their motive is to get the recognition, to feel superior or grandiose by the virtue of the fact that they are able to aid people in considering feeling inferior. So, like other codependents, they may feel exploited and resentful towards the people that they help. So, you'll notice though that a narcissist and a codependent both hide behind this facade of self-sufficiency. When it comes to their emotional needs being met, having the feelings of closeness, the feeling of support, grieving, nurturing, and intimacy. So maybe this helps you if you're a codependent, you've been with a narcissist, to see the similarities and answer that question of, I think I'm the narcissist. Well, there's a lot of similar traits. But if you're asking that, you're not. And it does take going within to healing this neglect and this shame and all of this dependency on something outside yourself to make yourself feel better. But narcissists, you will notice that the quest of power protects them from experiencing those ugly, yucky feelings of humiliation, feeling weak, feeling sad, afraid, feeling wanting or needing somebody. Ultimately, basically for both, to avoid feeling rejection and shame. You guys, you can't heal what you can't feel, so you've got to feel those feelings. And I just love rapid transformational therapy because it takes you to those feelings and breaks those bonds, breaks that connection. The only threat of abandonment really reveals how truly dependent you are, and the only person that you can be dependent on when you're taking this journey to healing is yourself. And if you don't know what that looks like, you don't know how to get there, but you want to get there, please reach out. And I hope this video didn't make you feel like you're the narcissist. If you're watching this, you're certainly not. But maybe it shines some light on the similarities between codependency and narcissism. And many narcissists are codependent. That's why this constant need for supply that's never ending. So thank you guys. As always, I love sharing information and content with you, and I would love to talk to you more about working together if that's where you're at.